All right, hi everybody. I am just going to start an example project. I didn't interview a real coach, I interviewed my husband, so you're gonna see him. And I'm using Macy Palmer's B-roll. Thank you, Macy. But I'm gonna lay out a project from scratch so that if you still have questions about how to lay out projects in Premiere, hopefully this will help you. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen and we're gonna go from there. Okay, so already on the desktop of my computer or on a hard drive, I have created this project folder. Every asset that I'm going to use for the project, I'm going to put in this folder. So inside the folder, you can see that I have an audio project. This is all my audio tracks from my Lenshopper. I have an export folder. Anything I create in Premiere, I will export to the exports folder. I have music. This is some of the Creative Commons music or royalty-free music that I've decided that I want to try out on this project. Premiere, this is where I'm going to save my Premiere project. And then I have a video folder. These are all the videos from my SD card that we filmed for this project. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to go ahead and open up Premiere. This always takes a minute, so just be patient. All right, and we're going to go over here to New Project. I'm going to create a new project. I'm going to title it Wilson Firefighter. Browse where I want to put it. So I'm going to go back to my desktop, to the project folder, into the Premiere folder, and I'm going to say choose HDV and press OK. Great. So Premiere has opened up this project, and we are just going to import by clicking in the bottom left. Go to our project folder. I'm going to import all of the videos. I like to just click on the folder and it will actually import the folder. So you have a whole folder here. I'm going to double click again, go back to my audio, import my audio, double click, go back to the project folder and import the music. All right, so first things first, I want to listen to the interview portion of this. So you all interviewed a coach. I wanted to listen to that interview and sync my Lenshopper audio with the audio from the camera. All right, so in my videos, if I double click, I can see kind of which ones are my interviews. I know that this one is one of the interviews, and you can see it created a little sequence over here on the bottom left. This is the other one. When you sync audio and video in Premiere, they need to be in separate tracks so that they can move around. All right, I am going to go through, and I know that my last two audio tracks were audio from the interview, so I'm going to drag that into its own track. There's nothing else in A3. And then my track 15, I'm actually going to pull below, and it's going to create an A4. All of these are in separate tracks. I select them all, right-click, go to synchronize by audio, and press OK. And now just watch it. Everything moved a little bit. So now it's all in sync. I'm just gonna, now you see how there's a time code that shows up. You wanna make sure it's 00. I'm gonna drag this down so that all of the interviews on the same track and all the audio is on its own track too. Okay, when you go back into the video file, I created a sequence. You can see the icon is different in that bottom left. I'm gonna name this interview. And I'm actually going to I'm gonna minimize the videos and create a new bin for sequences. I'm gonna go back to my videos and drag that sequence into the sequences folder. So it's all laid out this way. Once you have it all synced, this is the one that for a longer project you would transcribe. You always wanna keep the synced version of it. You don't wanna delete it or edit on it. So I am going to duplicate by right-clicking over here, and it created interview copy 1, okay? So this is one that I now feel comfortable editing. I'm gonna X out of that first interview. That's always gonna be synced. It's always gonna be there. I can always return to it. It will match the time code of my transcripts. But if I'm gonna make edits, I'm gonna edit on a new draft. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this audio, raise my good audio, make sure that that time code stays 0.
Get the workouts in.
All right, and now I want to delete my own voice. So I can see he's not talking. I'm gonna get to a portion. All right, so he's gonna start talking, and I want to delete my voice out, so I'm just gonna listen.
We have time to get the workouts in, get the fitness regimen in. And this summer we've beefed up. We now have a rigorous program. We have a new fitness instructors. So everything's we expect for our athletes to be top of the line. And what that means is that our wideouts, our corners, they're going to be explosive off the line. They're going to be quick. Our running backs, we expect a lot of power from them. Our running backs and our linebackers do a similar regimen where they should be.
So he's just talking, you're going to want to figure out the portions of this that you want to use.
What that means is that
I like when he says
fitness instructors. So everything's we expect.
I like when he says, and I'm going into my audio. If I zoom in, you can see I'm going to edit before he starts to say this. You can see it kind of starts at an equilibrium, starts talking, and then goes back to an equilibrium. So I'm going to cut this portion out, and he's going to say,
we expect for our athletes to be top of the line. And what that means is that our wideouts, our corners, they're going to be explosive off the line. They're going to be quick. Running backs, we expect a lot of power from them. Our running backs and our linebackers do a similar regimen where they should be as fast as possible per their weight class, but also they should be beefing up and getting as much muscle.
He's kind of talking too much detail. So I'm going back to the beginning.
Corners, they're going to be explosive off the line. They're going to be quick.
Okay, I like that. They're going to be explosive, and then I'm going to cut before this. All right. I'm like listening around my voice. I don't like it, so I'm going to wait until he starts.
We've got a lot of kids from a lot of different backgrounds.
Okay, so I just know I don't like that. I'm going over here. I'm going to get to him to start talking again.
Yeah, so a lot of these kids come from
so you're going to go through and just make the selections of the things that you want from your interview, and they don't have to say that much. This is an incredibly short video. So I'm just going to take a minute, and I'm going to go through and do that. All right, so at this point, you have all of your little selections. You've deleted everything else. So you can just click in between and pull them all together. But maybe what happens, sometimes I'll do this and get them all kind of together. I'm going to pull it all the way to the right, and then I'm going to listen to it and pull them back to the left in the order that I want them, because I'm probably not going to use them in the chronological order of what he said.
Expect for our athletes to be top of the line. And what that means is that our wideouts, our corners, they're going to be explosive off the line. They're going to be quick. This team means a lot for this community. We've got players that college scouts or the media should be on the lookout. We've got a kid out on wideout who is looking to be recruited for D1 football across the board, offense and defense. We've got some heavy hitters.
Maybe it's not that interesting.
Evans football night means that you do dig deep. We pride ourselves in pulling away in the fourth quarter. So all things being equal, we should win every single game.
Okay, so that's a great quote and gets you 30 seconds in.
100% of it from them at any given moment that they wear the gold helmet. We don't tolerate negativity or lack of discipline. Those are kind of prerequisites to walking into the door for our football team.
Okay, so I like that. And then
we expect for our athletes to be top of the line. And what that means is that our wideouts, our corners, they're going to be explosive off the line. They're going to be quick.
I'm going to put that there.
I expect 100% of that from them.
And then.
So all things being equal, we should win every single game.
Great. So I kind of like this. These are the three that I want to use for my 1 minute long piece.
Defense that will go to play D1 football.
I'm not that interested in this. Okay, great. So I deleted everything else. So now this interview copy only has the things that I want in it, right? Okay, so now from interview copy 1, sometimes I call the first version synced, so I know that that's what's synced, interview copy 1. Now I'm going to duplicate this, and now we're going to call this draft 1. Okay, so now we have draft 1. We've created another duplicate. We have draft 1. Okay, now I'm going to teach you how to work with B-roll, right? Once you have your timeline laid out, well, maybe we can work with music first, because we know we're going to use music. So in this folder is our music, and up you double click it, it'll open up here. maybe, I don't know. And then this one, we'll see what this one was like. These are pretty intense. Oh my gosh, I don't know why I thought these were a good fit. Okay. So we have our music. You can pick whatever you want to pick, right? Here's an example. I don't particularly remember why I picked this one, but let's listen to the end of it. Okay, or you can kind of see these sections. It's gonna start. All right, I really like that portion of it. Okay, so this is kind of a way that you can work. You can either drag and drop the entire song onto the timeline underneath, and you can edit it down here. Another thing that you can do is you can bring your cursor to a portion, and I'm zooming in and out with my plus and minus keys. So I'm gonna press I, and it creates an in point. And so I press I, and now I'm zooming out. And maybe I just want it to play until the end. Right? Okay. At the end, I'm gonna put an O, and it selects that portion of it, an I, in, O, out. And now when I drag this down, it drags just the portion of the song. Did I drag it over something? Yeah, it drags just the portion of the song that I want to be there. So perhaps I want it to start in that portion. You can tell also that it's really loud. You can barely hear the coach. So I'm gonna go ahead and select it and use the shortcut G, brings up gain, and I'm gonna say I wanna go to -15 and drop it low.
They're gonna be explosive off the line, they're gonna be quick.
Right, okay. This song doesn't really fit that well, so I don't know why I chose this song, but it doesn't fit very well. And then for this music, I'm for his audio, I'm doing the same thing. I'm pressing G, and I'm gonna probably boost it about 10. You're looking, if you solo this track,
And
over here, I kind of want this to be as close to 0 as possible without peaking. I want it to be as close to 0 as possible without peaking. So I think there's still probably a little bit of space to kind of boost it up a little bit more.
So all things being equal, we should win every single.
Great, okay.
We expect.
So I want to hear that music.
We expect for athletes to be top of the line. And what that means is that.
Okay. Now you're going to start thinking about editing on music. So I'm listening.
We expect for athletes to be top of the line. And what that means is that our wideouts.
Okay. And I know that B-roll is going to cover this audio. So if we only listen to this track.
To be top of the line. And what that means is that.
I want to cover it. I don't really want to hear it. So I'm going to zoom in, press Command K, and then kind of pull this to the side and pull it back in.
Line. And what that means is that our wideouts, our corners.
Cool. It cuts it out. And that right here, this is a jump cut. So if we watch him.
Our wideout.
Very slightly, you can see his eyes move.
Our wideout.
Right? That's a jump cut. We want to cover it unless it's intentional, right? So you're going to go through and you can.
Line, they're going to be quick. I expect 100% of that from them at any given moment that they wear the gold helmet. We don't tolerate.
So again, this I'm going to cut it out. I'm selecting these portions, Command K, kind of dragging and pulling it in, deleting the center of it.
Negativity or lack of discipline. Those are.
So he has a lot of. He says a lot. So I'm selecting it, and I'm just kind of deleting those little ums that he makes, and then clicking and pulling it back.
Those are kind of.
I don't like that. Right. So I'm deleting those portions of it. Okay. So I'm deleting those over and kind of pulling it in.
Kind of prerequisites to walking into the door for our football team.
Great. Okay. So you're going to do that.
To be Evans football night, means that you do.
Again, I don't want this so I'm cutting out all my cutting out all the clicking in the middle, deleting it.
Means that you do dig deep. We pride ourselves in pulling away.
Right?
Means that you do dig deep.
I don't know if
we pride ourselves in pulling away in the fourth quarter. We play a full.
I want to hear at the end.
At any given moment, we should out hustle them. So all things being equal, we should win every single game.
So he says, at the end, I hate that. We should win every single game. That's a good thing to end on, right?
At any given moment.
So he's basically talking about out hustling them. So I'm just gonna maybe delete this track and pull this one in. And I'm thinking about using the end of the music. This music doesn't necessarily have the most powerful ending, but maybe your song will.
So all things being equal, we should win every single game.
And maybe what I want is to play with that. Use the sound of silence. So maybe I want the music to fade. Let's listen to this. And then maybe he is gonna say this last comment at the end of it, so.
At any given moment, we should out hustle them. So all things being equal, we should win every single game.
Right? I don't know. Maybe you wanna do that. We don't want this again, so I'm gonna delete the move this over.
Out hustle them. So all things being equal, we should win every single game.
Right? Cool. Maybe you hear that. Okay. So now I have it kind of laid out on the timeline the way that I like it. There's like spaces and gaps. The words don't always have to be smacked together. Maybe you want to listen to the music and create some spaces. You have to go through and cover those audio cuts in your audio. When you put them together, you can hear the blips, right? So I'm going to select all of my audio and I'm going to use the shortcut Command-Shift-D. Puts all these constant powers on. And now I'm just going to zoom in and make them all very small. So literally all of them, I'm going to zoom in and make them all really tiny so that I can't. Basically, you don't want to hear. You're going to have to hover and then pull it in. You don't want to hear the fade. So you want the fade to be really tiny if it's over them speaking. Sometimes you'll hear the voices talking over each other. So I'm just really zooming through and trying to make my constant powers. There is one on every single one of my cuts. And sometimes you have to pull it over because there wasn't enough audio to fade into. But this is just hiding those cuts. And you're going to do this for your entire piece. So I'm just like flying through it. On all of my cuts, making them really teeny. Okay, great. So now you can't hear the audio cuts.
So all things being equal, we should win.
But you can see them. That's a jump cut.
So all things being equal, we should win every single game.
Right? Okay. And maybe this, he kind of,
game.
That breath at the end makes it feel like he's about to say something else. So I'm going to actually pull it in.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. So we have it all laid out. We're feeling great. Now we want to deal with B-roll. My way of dealing with B-roll, you can use the in and out points like we did in the top left corner. You can watch a video, for example, let's watch this one, and you can, I can put an I, and then at the end of it, put an O, and then click and drag the clip onto my timeline. You could do that if you find it easiest. What I like to do is go back up to my sequences. I'm gonna X out of this sequence so that there's nothing on my timeline. There's nothing on it. Now what I'm gonna do is go to my B-roll, and I'm gonna select all of the clips that I know are B-roll. These are actually Macy's B-roll, stole them. And you're gonna drag them onto the timeline. And now you can use your cursor to kind of fly through and see all of the footage that you created. You can see all of it, right? This is the way I like to work, just because it's really quickly, it's easier for me than clicking on every individual clip. You might wanna use in and out points, let me know. But because we pulled all that footage over, it's gonna create the sequence, that sequence file in the folder with all of our videos. So I'm gonna drag this little sequence all the way up into our sequences folder. and rename it B-roll. Okay? This is all my B-roll. Now you can kind of zoom through it and say like, all right, I'm just gonna get to some stuff that I think is cool. I'm gonna mute it for the purposes of this right now, but get to the things that you think are cool. Like, okay, I like this. So maybe I want to include this. Maybe I want to include, I saw that clip of them running out, which is pretty cool. Yeah, this one is pretty cool, them running out, right? That's awesome. Maybe I want to include a clip. Okay, this is cool. Them walking around. Oh, that high five. That was a good high five, right? Maybe that's a moment I want to. So I'm just kind of raising the clips as a way of telling myself what I think looks cool, right? Maybe if there's action, like you can see that action is pretty close to the camera. So I'm gonna say, all right, I'm gonna cut before the action and let the action play out on the camera. What you want in an ideal world is to have your B-roll shots be longer than you think you need them. Instead of only filming for like 2 seconds, you might wanna show more than that. Okay, but like this is beautiful, right? So I'm gonna select this. I think there was also some like cheerleading. I'm gonna see if there's some cheerleading. Oh yes, there's some like cheerleading. You wanna create the environment, right, of a football game. This one, she's closer, right? That's great. So once you raise up all your footage, now I'm literally just selecting it, all my footage. It selects the audio too. Sometimes depending on the settings, you might have to go back and select your audio as well by holding down the Shift key. And I'm gonna copy, Command C, open up my draft, and to the right of my draft, I'm gonna press Command V. And you can see that it pasted pasted in V1 and A1 as close to that middle line, horizontal line as possible. Sometimes it's helpful if I like the way everything's laid out, I'm gonna lock this and I'm gonna lock this and I'm gonna lock that. And now when I paste it, it's gonna go on top of those. So now it's really easy for me to decide, I'm just gonna pull this over to the front and I'm gonna start building sequences. So maybe I want to create, I'm gonna maybe put the cheerleaders after that, and then maybe we'll see them run through that thing. I wanna start building sequences, okay? So I'm gonna see, and now I'm gonna edit thinking about the music. I'm gonna mute the B-roll for a second. Okay. So it's gonna go ba-na-na-na. And so I'm gonna say, okay, had enough of that. Let's see if we can put this there. Right? So and then there's about to be another kind of like bing, and I am gonna pull that out and then bring in something else. I'm just kind of trying to edit on the beats. Right? And what we tend to do is follow action, but what's really great sometimes is allowing action to come into the frame and then leave the frame. So Macy moves and I'm gonna edit before she moves. So I'm using my arrow keys and she starts moving. I don't want to include that. I'm actually gonna cut it before then.
Yeah.
And maybe I will include the second half of it and we'll kind of just use it as it's entirely unclipped. We'll see if that works. I'm pulling it
in. We expect for.
Okay, and because I want it to just get to the point where he starts talking, oh, it's not quite long enough. Do you see that little portion of it? So I'm actually gonna pull it in a little bit and then pull it in from that side because I think it'll be long enough. Okay, so let's listen to it right now. Oh, I'm gonna pull this up. We can watch it.
We expect for athletes to be top of the line. What that means is that.
Right, okay. So I want you to think in terms of that. Think in terms of sequences. Use the beats of your music, right? And at the end of it, I want you to decide what audio you want to include. If we listen to only this track, it's really confusing and chaotic, right? So if we only listen to that music, it's really confusing. So the way that I edit is at the bottom of my project, I have a whole track. It's gonna be A4 that is muted. And then at the very top, I like to have one that's hidden. So that's where I pull my camera that I don't wanna see so that I can see the second camera, if I have a second camera. But for the purposes of this is helpful because that sound isn't great, but this cheer might be good, right? So I'm gonna solo. And I wanna hear maybe that track. Okay, so they kind of say something there. Maybe that's too loud. But I'm gonna, if you click option, you can select one portion of your audio and pull it out. And I wanna just get to a point in the audio. I'm gonna pull this down to the mute. I wanna get to the point in the audio where it's valuable. Right, let's go defense, right? I want them to say, let's go blue. So here. Okay, so that's maybe the portion of it I want. So I'm just gonna select that portion of it and move this over. You can see it's gonna be out of sync. Maybe that's a sound that you want, or you can move it and have that audio be behind a different clip. Right? You can play around with how you want to have that. And you want to, if you see someone's mouth on the screen, you want to be able to know what they're saying, right? If a coach is yelling, I want to hear what he's yelling, right? But there might be like the buzzer, or there might be whistles, or there might be their cheers, and you see them go, ha, ha, and you want to like hear those claps, right? So think about the sounds that they're using, but some things might just be the ambiance of football. And those audio clips don't necessarily have to match with the B-roll that they were taken with, if that makes sense. You can move them around, right? And then in that same way, once you have it all laid out, you want to do your audio mixing. I'm going to press G, and I'm going to drop this, maybe, I'm just guessing, so that when I listen to the whole thing, right? And I want, maybe I'm going to pull this. You want the audio to kind of flow into everything. So let's do like, maybe let's listen. And maybe I want to fade into this. So I'm going to include my constant power on literally all of my cuts, right? But now it gets confusing when it's underneath him. So I'm going to delete this and I'm going to fade out of it.
We expect for athletes to be top of the line. And what that means is that,
right? So you still need audio crossfades between the cuts of your B-roll, but you want to only use the audio that's helpful, that's not distracting. And you want to make sure that if I'm supposed to hear somebody talk, like if there's an interview, make sure that their audio level is higher. But I want you to play with this. Build sequences out of your footage like this.
we expect for athletes.
Right? Try to pair things together. It's helpful to think of, is the action coming from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen, right? Then maybe you match the next clip to continue the motion in the same direction, right? So play around with sequences, play around with audio. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching, and I'm really looking forward to seeing your drafts.